and then that was in 74, September 74, October 74. There was a person who spoke a word over us and said that we would go into ministry. Well, we didn't go into ministry until 1981.
Wow.
Yeah, we tried everything. It just didn't work for us. And we then eventually went in and did a 5-year discipleship course in the church where I grew up in, and then went out and planted a church on our own. Yeah, we were there for 26 years.
So that was a very big decision to make, of course, leaving your job. How did you manage to survive financially and with the family in that?
Well, just to give you an idea where I was, I held a senior position. I was working for the city of Harare municipality. I was in 1970, late 70s. I was earning about $1,200, $1,300 a month, which was a good middle class salary. And we left that to go into the ministry for $250 a month.
Wow. So, Babs, you were about to say something there as well. Carry on.
I was going to say when I first gave my life to Jesus, it was just the most wonderful time in my life. You know, there was so much joy, so much peace. Just life was, it was just incredible. Yeah, the sky was bluer than blue, and it was just a really special time when I'm sure you experienced it as well when you first get to know Jesus, and just how incredible he is.
It was my testimony when I came back to the Lord, having gone from being a strong Christian I was conned by my uncle to go into yoga. That's where it was.
Oh, wow.
And that just drew me away from Jesus. And then when I came back to the Lord, do I understand what grace is? I can remember, I think the first year, every Sunday, I'd be up at the altar just kneeling down. There was a little corner there where I just go in and just weep before the Lord, knowing of what his grace meant to me, having known him, rejected him, and come back to him, and him accepting me again. It was just such an incredible thing in my life.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people, and once they believe in yoga, and they believe, that they get something from it. So what's the difference between doing the yoga and knowing Jesus? What's the difference?
Yoga, you're trying to release yourself within you. You're trying to find your salvation within you, whereas you cannot. Salvation is only found in Jesus. Secondly, in yoga, the different postures that people do in yoga, I've led to understand, I've had this backed up by other people saying this, they're actually worship positions to the spirit of Kundalini, which is in your body.
Oh, I see.
Kundalini is a snake which is in your body. You've got 7 chakras which you learn to overcome. And then you release the serpent in you, Kundalini, and it just doesn't make any sense, does it? But anyway, that's what you do. And then you enter into that nirvana sort of state, which is just an absolute lie. The serpent is set free in your heart, And
so, Bob, at this particular stage, did you nag him about this, or did you get onto him, or did you speak to him about the going away from the Lord?
Well, because I wasn't saved yet.
I see.
I hadn't made Jesus the Lord of my life. I just thought, it's a little fad he's into.
Going through. As men do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it didn't affect him too much in the everyday life. Occasionally he would burn incense, and I thought, oh well, that's just his little thing.
So, you went and did the yoga, and what was it that drew you back to Jesus?
Just being in that first
just
service.
a revelation, almost a soul revelation, with Jesus. Why are you kicking against me, sort of type thing. I can remember at that meeting where Babs went forward for the cross and the switchblade. She never told me she was going forward. I never told her I was going forward. I just went forward. And my mate Pete came up to me and says, Welcome back, Dan.
So is that married life that you never tell each other things? Or is it that you don't listen? Dan? So, okay, you became a Christian later then, Babs, okay, and you were both. What wider effect did it have on your family and, your sisters and your siblings and what have you?
That's interesting.
Oh, when I got saved.
Yeah, when you got saved, yeah.
Well, the person that took it the hardest was my father.
Wow.
Because he couldn't understand what it meant to be born again.
Even though he was in a Reformed church.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And but because in the Reformed church, you take on your husband's church, your husband's church.
I see, yeah.
So it was kind of okay for him. But then when my sister started getting interested, that he found that hard. But all my sisters were eventually saved as well.
And Dad.
And my dad as well. My dad
Wow.
eventually was born again and got baptized. It was amazing. At the age of 74.
So you made a big decision then to go into ministry in 74. How hard was it for you to actually start and really get into ministry?
You know, I'd been working. So we actually went into ministry in 81. And we did 5 years discipleship in the church where we were going.
Mm-hmm.
The pastor's discipled me through like that. It was just such a strong calling in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
That we just knew this is what we had to do. And well, without faith, it's impossible to please God. And we had to take some faith steps.
Indeed.
Never regretted it. We've never regretted it.
No.
So you said a very strong calling. How did you guys know that God was calling you? Was it confirmed, or did you just step out in faith yourselves?
No, it was confirmed by many, many friends of ours.
Lifestories Worldwide is on YouTube, and it's very easy to subscribe to our channel. Just click the bell and subscribe, and receive notifications of when we are live, or simply watch any of our other videos. So check it out and give us a visit.
From the word as well.
From the word of God, just really confirmed it for us.
Okay, so the ministry you went into, was that in leprosy itself and speaking to people?
No. We went into ministry in 81. I was youth pastor in the church from 75 onwards.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a development over youth pastor. You become a deacon, you become an elder, and then we went into the ministry after that. And we were only asked to give our testimony in 1980. No, in 2000.
2000.
In 2000. So that had been our secret in ministry, that we'd had leprosy.
So nobody knew?
Nobody knew.
Wow.
Other than our family and our pastor.
It was a need to know sort of we would have told people.
And they didn't need to know.
And they didn't need to know. We were advised not to tell people.
I see. That's very interesting.
We were advised by the doctor and by our pastor. Don't tell anybody. They won't understand.
And when you did tell people, did they understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
We told our church when the leprosy mission wanted to have our testimony, because it was kind of unique. We said, well, we're first telling our church before you even print a word.
You didn't want them to find out through the back door, basically.
No.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
That was terrifying. That first Sunday when we, went public.
Right.
And we just told the people. Then we went to the door, and the people. Honestly, everybody came. George hugged us, kissed us, and wept with us, and just said, "Why didn't you tell us before? We would have understood a lot more."
I was going to say, did everybody make for the door, or did they give you a hug? But you said they gave you a hug, yeah.
They lined up.
Wow.
It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So God just goes ahead of you. Just so often it's only afterwards that you realize that God has gone ahead of you.
Mm-hmm. So you got into ministry anyway, and Did you travel widely in Zimbabwe, or did you visit different countries with the ministry?
No, we were in the capital city
Mm-hmm.
of Harare.
Harare, is it? Yeah.
Yes, where we had the country just transitioned from Rhodesia to Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, yeah.
So we had to rebuild a whole church, start off, rebuilding the church, new nation, new concepts in the nation. So that's what we did there. And then I worked a year with Reinhard Bonke, CFAN ministry.
Wow.
I think I all did about 4 or 5 crusades with Reinhard in Zimbabwe, Zambia, and in Malawi. Yeah. And then we were on our way to Kenya when we just felt God say, go back to your country of birth.
Wow. So I was going to ask, how difficult was it from that transition from Rhodesia to Zimbabwe? Was that a big upheaval politically in the country?
It was a huge lot of our friends left the country. Our church was just broken down from having about 120, 130 people, which was a big church in the early middle 70s, was a big church in those days, down to about 25 people that came to church. And then God was gracious. We just built it up again. We had a great pastor with us, a great friend of ours who led the church. That was wonderful. Yeah.
And was there a mixture in the church? Was it black and white, or was it mainly white?
It was mainly white to begin with, but then as the nation began to settle down after the Civil War and that, we had a good multiracial church. Yes.
Excellent. So you're in ministry. You've moved to the UK now. Was that because to be close to your family because of your children?
Exactly. That was the main reason. And then I personally felt that as a husband, sound of mind, I needed to get a safe place for Babs, because statistically the husband dies before the wife, and I just needed to have a place where if I died before her, I know that she'd be settled. So that was one of the reasons. That was another reason. Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you as well, when the kids came along and they started to notice things, how did you explain the leprosy to them?
We just sat them down and told them.
Okay.
And they just said, "Oh, is that all?" Again,
I mean, did you ever think that it could be hereditary or something that you could pass it on to your kids? Anything like that ever cross your mind?
Where that was laid, the doctors explained to us that it's not hereditary at all.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be of the 5%,
right?
Who can get it.
It's a protein that's missing in your DNA, and then you've got to be in touch with somebody who has got leprosy.
Okay, excellent.
But
so
we did put them on a prophylactic dose of
leprosy drugs.
The leprosy drugs for 6 months.
Was that a precaution? Not just a precaution?
Yeah, purely precaution.
Yeah. And how are they doing now, the kids?
Oh, they're all well.
Oh, they're well.
Some grandkids as well, I believe.
Yeah, we got 6 grandchildren. They all
wow.
It was interesting. Our second granddaughter, when she was born, little girl, seeing her, and there was a brown patch on her back. Well, brown patches, you get them for all kinds of things, but immediately because of our background, we thought, "Oh my, she's got leprosy."
Right.
But actually, it was just a birthmark by the time you looked
automatic assumption, yeah. Now, how did you explain that? Of course, I mean, you've obviously told your kids about Jesus, and have they also followed in your footsteps?
Our eldest son is in full-time ministry, full-time elder.
Wow.
Our other son is an elder in a church. He moved out from the church, planted a church, and we're with him in another church plant at the moment.
Oh, great. So you're still going strong, preaching the word and planting churches. And so far then, what's your experience been like in the UK when you came to live here? What's it been like for you?
When they asked me in Zimbabwe, I said, the British people love their animals and kids.
Oh, yes.
In that order. I
Yep.
see dogs taking their owners for a walk every day,
No matter what the weather is.
no matter what the weather is.
Lifestories Worldwide is broadcast live every Monday night at 8 p.m. UK time. We broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, and StreamYard. Why not join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. UK time for Lifestories Worldwide. Yes, I can see you're feeling the weather because you got your coat on inside.
Yeah. And
So, what was it a culture shock for you when you came to the UK?
some things, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But you remember, Rhodesia was a colony of Britain anyway.
That's correct, yeah.
So there were just a lot of practices which were
Just normal for us.
based
Yeah.
on the British system, yeah.
And for you, Babs, coming over as a wife and that and mother, what did you feel the benefits like of shops and supermarkets and
Oh,
other things?
yes. Very exciting.
So it's been excellent. And have you been back at all to Zimbabwe since?
We've been back twice.
Okay,
Yeah.
We're in Zimbabwe August, September,
right.
and then we're in the States in October, and then we were in Switzerland in November
So you're still ministering, basically.
for the leprosy
leprosy
mission.
mission.
Yes.
Oh, I see, for the leprosy mission. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, go on, sorry, go ahead.
In the church, it's time for younger people to do it.
Yeah.
We're just there just to encourage them, be a blessing to
support.
them. That's all.
But wasn't Moses 80 when he started, and Noah was 120, and hang on, he went on to be 600 or something.
My name's Dan. My name's Dan. I just shut the mouths of lions. That's all.
So, looking forward, what do you see for yourselves in the future?
We were going to stop doing planned ministry for this at the end of this year.
Right.
We'd been doing advocacy work for 23 years.
Right.
But immediately having said that, we're in Northern Ireland in January doing leprosy work again.
Mm-hmm.
And we're busy planning. It's my 77th birthday next year of doing a 77 tour in Switzerland again. So
Wow. So you're speaking of the leprosy mission, is it still a big problem in countries, leprosy?
leprosy, every 2 minutes, statistically, somebody somewhere is being diagnosed with leprosy.
Okay.
So we've been on for an hour now. So that's 30 people statistically being diagnosed with leprosy.
And is it specific to countries or areas, or can it happen anywhere?
The biggest one is India. They have a massive population. And then Brazil, Democratic Republic of Congo, those are other places as well. Yeah.
But it's 130 countries, isn't it?
It's diagnosed in 120 countries in the world.
Wow. So if somebody wanted to contribute to the leprosy mission, how would they do that?
Depending on which country they are, they can go on internet and look up the leprosy mission. We operate, we have 15 countries are supporting countries, and then we have 15 countries which we support, or implementing countries. Yeah.
Excellent. It's been fantastic speaking to you guys. Thank you so much for telling us your story about the leprosy and that. I nearly said I have to hand it to you, but I won't. Now, Babs, you said earlier, of course, that the best decision you ever made, of course, was when you met Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
We always ask that question here on Lifestories World. So I'm going to ask you, Dan, of all the decisions you have made, what's the best decision you ever made?
Going back to Jesus. I turned my back on him, but then going back to him and understanding the truth of who he is, and setting aside the lies that are taught about Jesus, and holding on that he is the way, the truth, and the life, and the only way to eternal salvation, and the only way to have our sins forgiven.
Thanks very much for both of you. Any words of advice for us before we go?
If you've listened to this podcast this evening, and you've never given your life to the Lord, I want to encourage you this evening to find out about Jesus, even if it's through this organization, but find out about Jesus. And there is a peace that passes understanding. And these just aren't cliches. You need to do that. And if you've listened to this and you've moved away from serving God, I want to encourage you this evening, or this message is give your life back to the Lord. Slide back to Jesus. Reinhard Bonk would say, if you're a backslider, slide back to Jesus for a change, and just come back and serve him, and do it wholeheartedly. You can't serve God half-heartedly.
And finally, Babs, seems that you're a lady, I'll give you the last word. What would you say?
Oh, my word. Well, pretty much the same thing. You can't go wrong by giving your life to Jesus and just loving him for who he is.
Thank you so much, Babs. Thank you so much, Dan. It's been fantastic speaking to you. I'm just going to bring Alan back in and to finish off at the end of the program. Bear with me.
Thank you,
Thank
George.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Thank you, Dan and Babs. It's been so wonderful having you with us. And thank you so much for sharing your life stories with us and with the people who are going to watch this. It will go out to many, many people. And many people are going to be challenged by your story to get right with God. Those who've been backslidden, to come back to God. Thank you for sharing that and encouraging people to do that. So thank you so much for being with us. Thank you all who've been watching, and I want to encourage you to go to our website, lifestoriesworldwide.com, to look at all our information there. If you want to contact us, all the contact details are on there. I encourage you also to go to our YouTube channel, Life Stories Worldwide. There you can watch all the stories from previous Mondays, many, many tremendous stories that you can watch. Please click the subscription button and the share button and tell other people about these stories that are going out every Monday. You can also listen to these stories on, if you go to Spotify and go to Life Stories Worldwide, you can listen to these stories while you're walking or while you're driving your car. And now we'll ask you to consider joining us again next week, next Monday at 8 o'clock. For another life story from Life Stories Worldwide. Next week, we have Mark Saunders. Mark's life, he lived a life which took him from fame in the music industry to a life of depression, of alcohol addiction, and suicidal thoughts. Then he had a radical encounter with the Lord Jesus Christ. It changed his life forever. So next week, 8 o'clock, join us to hear the story from Mark Saunders, and tell your friends to join us as well. So may God bless you. May you know the peace of God which passes all human understanding. And may the joy of Jesus fill your hearts. Bye, everyone.